So far, we've been creating and configuring activity transitions in Java code. We can also customize the 4 types of activity transitions in XML. This is often useful for backward compatibility. On Lollipop, it'll show the nice transition animations. On older systems, it'll gracefully degrade to use system default animations. Let's check out the code. First things first, this project is currently configured to run for Android version 21 and up. Let's change the min SDK setting in our build.gradle file. So we need to expand Gradle scripts, and then double click on build.gradle for the app module. And here we want to change the min SDK version to 19, which is for KitKat. Now we have to sync our changes, so click on sync now. And now let's open up our styles file, expand res, then values, and double click on styles.xml. In here, we can just add an item to the theme of the target activity and point it to a transition that we want to use. We'll just use the slide right transition provided by Android, but we could use a custom transition as well. Now we also need to create 2 different versions of the styles file. This file here is the default that would be applied on API version 19 and up. We want to create a new version that will apply for version 21 and up. The reason we have these errors in here is because all of these items and the parents don't apply to version 19. We'll fix that in a moment. Let's right-click on Res and select New Android Resource File. We'll call this styles.xml, just like the other. We want all of these default values to be the same, but here in the available qualifiers, let's go down to Android version. Click on the arrows, and then we'll set the version to 21. And notice that we get a resource qualifier -v21 here on the directory name. So click OK. And here's our new file, and if we expand values, we see that there are now 2 different style files. So let's copy everything from here. And this is the version that we really want for version 21 and up. So select all and paste. And in here, we want to add those new items. So add a new line, and in each style, we're going to say item name equals Android : window enter transition. And we're going to set this equal to @Android : transition / and if we hit Command space, we can see a bunch of different transitions available. We want slide right. Let's copy this line and paste it down here. Save the changes here, and let's go back to our original file, and we're just going to clean this up a little bit. We could actually leave this alone and it would build with warnings, but let's get rid of all the items and change the parent themes. So we want to use, instead of material, we'll do theme.deviceDefault.light.noActionBar for the top one. And then for the dark theme, we'll use theme.deviceDefault.noActionBar. Okay, simple enough. So now for lower versions of Android, we'll just use the device default themes and transitions, and we won't mention anything that's not supported here. We also need to make a change in our album list activity. So let's expand that, open it up. And instead of using activity options, we need to use the backwards compatible version called activity options compat. The regular activity options are only available since Lollipop, but this backwards compatible version is available in a support library. And this will make it work for KitKat and other older versions. Now there's one more thing we need to do before we try running this. We need to go into our detail activity, and now we see that we have some errors where we're trying to use newer versions of the transition code. So here we see that this call requires API level 21. So for now, just so we can test this out, let's comment out the enter transition, and we'll do the same thing down here at the very bottom. This has to do with the fab, and we'll just comment that out. And let's go up here, all of these about the transition. Let's comment these out because we're going to use the transition in the styles file instead. So now let's run this on our Marshmallow device and see how it looks. Okay, so now if we tap on an item, okay, we see that we still have the shared element transition and the rest of the views slid in from the right. It isn't quite as elegant as our full shared transition, but we can set the rest of that up in XML. I'll leave that as a separate exercise for you. This is good enough to at least show how this works. Now let's see how it looks in a KitKat emulator. I'm going to close this one. We'll come back to our app, launch it again. This time I'm going to pick this Nexus 5, which is configured for API 19. Click OK. Okay, so here's our app, and let's try it out. If we tap on an album, okay, we get a nice fade-in transition. It isn't as elegant as our other one, but At least it works and our app is backwards compatible.